Rising from the Ashes: How Resilience Transforms Survival into Power. 20 years ago, a woman stood at the edge of homelessness with her children, fleeing domestic violence with nothing but determination in her pockets. Today, she owns multiple thriving businesses and mentors others facing similar barriers. This isn't a fairy tale. This is reality for countless women who've transformed their deepest wounds into their greatest power. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Leslie Cockrell, whose insights have fundamentally altered how I understand human resilience. Leslie isn't just a thought leader, she's a force of nature who has dedicated her life to illuminating the path from trauma to triumph for those who need it most. Her work has created ripples of transformation across communities where hope often feels like a luxury rather than a birthright. The wisdom she shared forms the foundation of what I'm bringing to you today. Have you ever noticed how we glorify the hustle but rarely honor the healing? How we celebrate the comeback but gloss over the breakdown that preceded it? How we admire the phoenix but forget about the ashes? It's as if we're collectively obsessed with the highlight reel while ignoring the raw footage that's made it possible. Let's change that conversation today. Let's talk about what happens in the space between breaking and becoming. When I spoke with Leslie Cockrell, one thing became abundantly clear: the journey from survival to empowerment isn't linear. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's absolutely possible for anyone willing to take that first courageous step. The stories I'm about to share aren't just testimonials, they're blueprints for transformation. They're evidence that your darkest moments can become the foundation for your brightest future, not despite your trauma, but because of how you choose to transform it. Consider Leslie Robertson, a Black woman who faced professional setbacks and personal struggles that would have derailed many. The obstacles she encountered weren't just speed bumps, they were mountains. As a Black woman in entrepreneurship, she navigated systems that weren't designed with her in mind, faced doubts that questioned her capabilities, and encountered barriers that seemed insurmountable. But here's where her story takes a remarkable turn. Instead of allowing these challenges to define her limits, Leslie used them to define her purpose. She recognized that her struggles weren't just personal hurdles, they were systemic issues affecting countless others who looked like her. So she did something revolutionary. She built community support systems and leveraged her experiences as fuel for business innovation. Today, Leslie co hosts the Business of the Beat podcast and leads initiatives empowering other entrepreneurs. She transformed instability into advocacy. She turned her pain into purpose. And in doing so, she didn't just change her own life, she created ripples that continue to transform her community. This is what Leslie Cockrell emphasized in our conversation. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward with greater purpose and power than before. But let's be honest: when you're in the thick of trauma, when you're facing homelessness, fleeing violence, or struggling to feed your children, transformation is the last thing on your mind. Survival consumes every ounce of your energy. The luxury of thinking about your purpose feels about as relevant as contemplating which yacht you might purchase someday. You're just trying to make it through the day without drowning. I want to share another powerful story that emerged from my interview with Leslie Cockrell. This one involves an entrepreneur who 20 years ago found herself homeless with her children after escaping domestic violence. For years, she endured financial instability and battled the crushing weight of self doubt. Each day was a fight not just for resources, but against the voice in her head questioning whether she could ever rebuild what had been broken. What makes her story remarkable isn't just that she survived, it's how she refused to let survival be the end of her story. She didn't just endure, she evolved. She committed to personal development, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. She sought out entrepreneurial education, building networks within supportive communities focused on Black professionals' advancement. Each setback became motivation rather than defeat. Each obstacle became a stepping stone rather than a barrier. Today, she runs multiple successful businesses and mentors others facing similar challenges. She's built generational wealth for her family and is recognized as an industry leader who helps others break cycles of poverty and trauma. When I share these stories, I'm not suggesting that transformation is easy or that everyone's path looks the same. What I am saying is that it's possible, and that possibility alone can be revolutionary when you're standing in the darkness. Leslie Cockrell's insights remind us that empowerment through action isn't about making grand gestures. It's about taking that first step, however small, toward reclaiming your agency. It's about refusing to surrender your power even when circumstances have stripped away everything else. This brings me to Leslie Hassler's approach, which offers a practical framework for women rebuilding their lives. Hassler works with entrepreneurs, many of whom are single mothers or abuse survivors who hit rock bottom, helping them align their business strategies with their core values. What's powerful about her approach is that it acknowledges both the practical and emotional dimensions of rebuilding. It's not enough to create a business plan. You need to create one that honors who you are and what you've survived. It's not enough to pursue success. You need to define success on your own terms. Her clients report greater profitability, confidence, and influence within their fields. Many move beyond the survival mindset into empowered leadership roles themselves. They transition from crisis, including housing insecurity, into respected business ownership. This is what transformation looks like in action. It's not just about changing your circumstances, it's about changing how you see yourself within those circumstances. It's about recognizing that the very experiences that nearly destroyed you can become the foundation upon which you build something extraordinary. But here's what often gets overlooked in these success stories: the courage it takes to be visible after trauma has taught you to hide, the bravery required to stand in your power when powerlessness has been your companion for so long, the strength needed to share your story when shame has convinced you to remain silent. This is perhaps the most profound insight from my conversation with Leslie Cockrell. Your story can inspire others. By holding your head high through adversity, you become a beacon for others facing similar struggles. Your journey creates ripples of hope in communities where hope can be in short supply. I want to pause here and acknowledge something important. Not everyone is at the same point in their journey. Some of you are still in survival mode. Some are taking those first tentative steps toward rebuilding. Others are already thriving and looking for ways to lift others up. Wherever you are is exactly where you need to be right now. There is no timeline for healing. There is no expiration date on transformation. What matters is that you recognize the power you already possess, the power that has brought you this far through circumstances that would have broken many others. That resilience isn't just a trait, it's your birthright, and it's the foundation upon which you can build whatever comes next. So, what does this mean for you, practically speaking? If you're still in survival mode, it means taking one small step towards safety and stability. Reaching out for help isn't weakness, it's courage in its purest form. Connecting with resources, building a support network, or simply allowing yourself to acknowledge your pain without judgment. These are all acts of power. If you're in rebuilding mode, it means investing in your growth with the same dedication you've shown to your survival. Seeking out education, mentorship, and community. Aligning your actions with your values. Recognizing that your past informs but does not dictate your future. And if you're already thriving, it means reaching back to lift others up. Sharing your story not as a badge of honor, but as a bridge for those still finding their way. Using your influence to create spaces where others can heal and grow. I want to challenge you today. What if the very thing you've been trying to hide about your story is exactly what someone else needs to hear? What if your wounds, when transformed into wisdom, could become the medicine that heals not just you, but an entire community? The world doesn't need more perfect people pretending they've never struggled. The world needs more truth tellers who can stand in their scars and say, "This broke me, but it didn't end me, and it doesn't have to end you either." So I urge you, take what you've learned today and turn it into action. If you're still in the fire, reach out for help. If you've escaped the flames, build something beautiful from the ashes. And if you've already risen, use your wings to create wind beneath someone else who's still learning to fly. Because resilience isn't just a personal virtue, it's a revolutionary act in a world that expects certain people to remain broken. Your healing isn't just for you, it's a declaration that trauma doesn't get the final word. Your transformation isn't just about changing your life, it's about disrupting the narrative about what's possible after devastation. Rise, build, thrive, and then turn around and hold the door open for someone else. That's how we transform not just individual lives, but entire communities. That's how we ensure that survival is never the end of the story, but merely the beginning of something magnificent. Thank you.